Okay, what's up, guys? So, how are you doing today? I just want to kind of talk about the whole situation about the January 6th, personally, how I feel about it. But I'm also going to talk about a couple other things. I'm going to talk about this fun fact right here. You know, how they're talking about how, like, violence and stuff like that, crime, they say, oh, there are white supremacists, white nationalist terrorists, and stuff like that. I'm like, let me give you like kind of an idea about how that's kind of bullshit. New York City, a Democrat city, right? New York City, their mayor is black, Eric Adams. The New York City Police Commissioner is also black. 96% of New York shooting victims in 2020 were either black or brown. LA mayor, Jewish Mexican American. LAPD chief, son of a Spanish father. 85% of LA homicides in the last 18 months were black and brown. Both in LA, in Los Angeles, and in New York City, two extremely liberal cities, you could see right here who are in charge as mayor, the chief of police, and stuff like that. Black, Mexican. And you could see, the number of the victims of shooting. Black on black, black on brown, brown on brown. So you're talking about systemic racism. You're talking about how it's a white person problem. Explain to me, how is this a white person problem? How is this a white racism problem? Yeah, you see, it's fucking silly. And I'm also show you this. This is also a little fun thing that I found. As you can see here, let me see around. You can see in Canada, their vaccination, 81% of their population has received at least one dose, and about 40% has received the booster shot. And saying about let's say about 10% of their population has natural immunity. So everybody that needed the vaccine already got the vaccine. But as you can see here, the number of deaths is rising up to, the record highs. Sit here and tell me, oh, these vaccines, these masks are highly, highly effective, because they're not. They don't stop the spread. You can still get it. You can still spread it to others. So I'm just saying, man, trust the science, right, guys? Trust the science. Okay, now I want to get into January 6th. What happened in January 6th wasn't a positive thing. Okay. These guys, they were pissed off. They tried to rush into the Capitol. They hurt some police officers. And they got into the building. They shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't have attacked the police officers. They shouldn't have gotten violent. But to say that it is a violent insurrection, terrorist attack, is a stretch. None of them that entered the Capitol were armed with a weapon. Nobody was killed. People were injured, but nobody was killed. So to say that, to compare that the Capitol riot to 9/11 or January 9/11 or Pearl Harbor is ridiculous. If you're looking at Pearl Harbor, how many people died? There were about 2,500 people that died during Pearl Harbor. Over 1,000 people were injured. During 9/11, almost 3,000 people died. And thousands of others, 6,000 to 7,000 people, were injured in the process. So for you to compare this event where People were hurt, but nobody was killed. Only one person, a protester, was actually shot and murdered by a trigger happy cop. But nobody was killed by Trump supporters that day. To compare that to two of the greatest, most, two of the darkest moments, in our history, it's kind of disgusting to me. In my opinion, it is a great insult to the family members of the people that have died in 9/11. I think that is a great insult. I think that is a disgusting statement to make. It is a disgraceful, it is a distasteful, it is a disgusting statement to make. And to be honest, what happened in January 6th, honestly, it paled into comparison to what happened during the BLM riots. What happened during the BLM riots was the true insurrection, in my opinion. I mean, these guys, these rioters, they've created tens of billions of dollars worth of damage and property damage, killing dozens of people. Hundreds or maybe even thousands of people were injured. Darrell E. Brooks, a BLM advocate, drove his SUV, ramming it into a Christmas parade, injuring almost about like 70 people, killing 66 people, fatally injuring, a lot of people. And this is a black, what do you call it? Black supremacist. This guy is a fucking terrorist. He's a domestic terrorist. He's a career felon. He has a rap sheet of multiple pages long. And this is disgusting. And add that, to the long list of people that were killed and harmed in the name of BLM, a movement that doesn't even care about black people. Like I just read out, the majority of crimes in LA, in New York City, mostly black on black, black and brown, and you're trying to tell me that it's a white person problem, and you don't care about, the black people that get murdered daily in these Democrat communities. The majority, 90-something percent, these of the black murder victims, of the black people getting killed, are killed by other black people, and we don't talk about those lives. And there are more black babies being murdered through abortion than black babies being brought into life in New York City. So, that just goes to show you how much they care about black lives. They only care about these criminals, these career criminals that get killed by the police officers for resisting arrest, because that pushes their narrative. There are actually more white people killed by cops every single year than cops killing black people. Okay? So, that's the crazy thing, So, it's insane, man. It is insane. They would do anything and everything that they can to push their narrative. And that just goes to show you how disgusting these people are. I mean, they do this. They've made racism a multi-billion-dollar industry. And they do this to make that money and to get votes. This is what they do in order to get votes. They brainwash people to think a certain way. It is disgusting. It is simply disgusting. And we have people that actually play into the narrative. But in 2022, 2021, though the supply doesn't meet the demand, there's a high demand for racism. Manufactured racism. The Democrats, the politicians, they're pumping in billions of dollars to make racism a thing in America. It's not working, and now they're trying to manufacture it. They're trying to create fake hate crimes. What Jesse Smollett did, what Bubba Wallace did. I mean, this is disgusting. What these people doing is sick and phony and disgusting. It's terrible. I mean, we have more black millionaires and billionaires in America than any other country in the world. You name it. And I mean, we even have a black president, for God's sake. So, how racist is America now compared to where we started? We've made it leaps and bounds. But the Democrats, they don't want to admit that. They don't. So, you have people like me, and we're here. We try to expose that bullshit. So yeah, that's all I got, man. Peace out. About to get some dinner.